Alright, how's everybody doing today? Back again with another video for you guys and gals. And today, what I have for everyone is I want to do my full camera walkthrough, including the photo and video samples for the Huawei Y9 Prime 2019. So starting off, what we're going to do in this video here today is we're going to walk through the camera interface. We're going to go over all the ways you can launch the cameras, and then at the end of the video I'm going to tack on all of the photo and video samples, and then we're going to wrap the video up. And I just want to let y'all know this video will be time stamped because I go pretty in depth in here, especially when we get into the video coverage. So there will be time codes down below in the video description so y'all could jump around to the different parts of the video that you guys and gals would like to know more about. Alright, that being said, without further ado, let's jump into this video. Now, starting off, the first thing I want to cover with you guys and gals before we take a look at the main camera interface and some of the capabilities of the cameras is I want to go over the different ways you can launch into your cameras on your Huawei device. Now, way number one is pretty straightforward. You program it in the camera settings, but you can configure your volume rockers to where all you have to do is double press the volume down button to take you into the cameras. Alright? Good stuff. Way number two is on the lock screen on your device. All you have to do is wake up the lock screen and then swipe up on the camera icon to launch you into the main camera interface page. Alright? And way number three, all you have to do is tap the camera icon to take you directly into the camera interface. Okay? So you can see with the camera icon located anywhere on the page, you can see I have mine in the cameras apps folder. You just want to tap on the camera icon to take us directly into the main camera interface page. Alright, now we're going to go through all these things from top to bottom, left to right. So starting off at the very top here, as y'all can see, you see this little circle with like a tornado in it. That's the quick shortcut to your high vision. It's similar to Google Lens. But the way it differs from Google Lens is you got a bunch more features inside of it, and it features real-time text translation to any language you could think of, and it does have auto detection language support. So let me show y'all that. So if we tap on this icon in the corner here, it launches us straight in, and you can see the first feature it has is object identification. So it will scan the screen, and whatever it detects, it will give you relevant information. So you can see it picked up my sunglasses, and it did detect glasses, sunglasses, and goggles, and you can see the relevant information there. So that's really nice. Okay. Other than that, if we swipe this way, we have a calorie counter. So if you're on like a meal plan, you got like a diet plan, you hold it up, the calorie portion, and you can log the calories for that. Okay, getting out of that, right next to that, we have a shopping thing. So if you want to get the relevant shopping information for any item, you go to this, it scans the scene, and it tries to pull up the relevant item that it picked up. So you can see once again, it picked up sunglasses, so it's just giving me some links to where I can buy sunglasses, and you can see the translation there. Okay. So that's shopping. Then right next to that, we have the real-time text translation that I was talking about. So now you can see I have it set to auto-detect and translate to English, right? So anything that it detects as a language, it's going to try and translate it in real time to English. And I can go ahead and change this to any language that I want. So I could take it off of auto-detect, right? But even if I leave it on auto detect and I want to translate it to a different language, so let's go like, let's say Japanese. So I want any text that it picks up to translate it to Japanese. So if I do something like hold up my deodorant here, it's going to scan the text and it's going to do the real-time translation. So you can see it's doing that real-time translation from English to Japanese. And if I wanted to change it to a different language, all I gotta do is hit up the drop down, and let's say I wanted to change it to something like Korean. Let's do this one. Let's do Korean here. Alright, so we'll do Korean. And now it's going to scan the screen. And again, it's going to translate the relevant information to Korean. And so on and so forth. We got a bunch of different languages in here. Let's do French. And then we'll move on. So you can see it's going to scan it. And then it's going to try and translate that into French, whatever the cameras detect. Alright. So this is really, really good. And the thing that I like about this is it is real-time translation. You know, with Google Lens, you still have to hold it up. It's going to scan the text, and then it will translate it in a separate screen. With this, it's going to scan it right away, and you'll see the relevant stuff right away. So you don't even have to go anywhere. You don't have to launch into a separate app. It's all right there. So really, really good stuff. I like that. Okay, and then lastly, we got our QR scanner here, so our barcode scanner. So good stuff. And this was the first shortcut there, the high vision up in the upper left-hand corner. All right. Right next to that, we have our flash controls. So you can see you can leave it on auto. You can turn it on completely, or you could turn it off. Now, as I said before in a lot of my other camera walkthroughs, I don't like flash, so I generally turn it off. But it's really nice to have, especially if you are in a dark environment and you need an extra light on the scene. There you have it. Then we have our AI mode that you could turn on, or you could turn off. And essentially what AI mode does, it just does it in a way so that the phone itself can do all the work for you. It will scan the scene. It will boost the relevant colors. It will add necessary sharpness, so on and so forth. So it just tries to make the picture taking experience as easily as possible. So us as the user, all we have to do is take the phone out, decide what we want to take a picture of, and hit the shutter button. Just like that. Okay? So you can see you could turn it on just by tapping on it. Okay? It scans the scene. And then just before you take the shutter, after that, it's going to add all the necessary sharpening effects, so on and so forth. Let's turn it off now, though. All right. Then, right next to that, we have our gear icon, which is going to take us into the sub-settings for additional settings for all of our cameras. Now, when we talk about the cameras on the Huawei Y9 Prime 2019, we have a triple camera setup, okay? We have a 16 megapixel primary camera on the rear, which is wide, okay? Then we have an 8 megapixel ultra wide sensor, okay? And then we have a 2 megapixel depth sensor. I believe it's 2 or 5 megapixels. I'll correct myself if I make any mistakes, but I do believe it's a 2 megapixel sensor for depth, okay? Then on the front, we have a 16 megapixel pop-up camera. Now, all of these cameras can record in up to 1080p at 30 FPS. With the rear-facing camera, we can do 720p slow motion, and we can also do 720p 480 frames per second slow motion. So we could do 120 frames, we could do 480 frames. All right, and we can easily switch between the normal wide angle and the ultra wide by tapping that 1x on the screen there. So you can see if I tap it, it bumps me out to the ultra wide 8 megapixel sensor. If I want to go back to the regular 16 megapixel, I just have to tap it again. It brings me back into the regular 16 megapixel sensor. So that's really nice. And I can adjust between the two just by grabbing and sliding. And I could do any increment between the cameras. So we can go in up to 6 times. We can go all the way out to the wide angle, which is 0.6 times. Okay? So y'all can see it's really, really intuitive. Then we got our grid lines to help us line up the shot. You can configure this in the settings, in the sub settings for the camera. I'm going to show y'all that in a little bit. Then right below our main viewfinder here, we have quick shortcuts to the additional modes. So you can see out the box, it comes in photo mode, and we're going to cover these modes from left to right. So let me swipe all the way over to the left. Okay, and in the far left, we have aperture mode. Now, this is essentially what gives you the manual control over the blur. The regular portrait mode tries to do that for you, and then you can determine how you want the blur or depth effect to be cut out. So you could do a circle, you could do a square, you could do so on and so forth. With the aperture mode, you can actually control where the focus is, and by doing so, it also lets you dial in the blur. Okay, and you can do the aperture all the way down to, or all the way up to 16, and you can go all the way down to 0.95. All right, so you can see I had it on 4. I actually like using it on 4. Actually, we'll leave it on 4. There we go. We got it back. So once you do that and you take a photo, you can get that nice blurred effect while also keeping your center subject in nice crisp focus. So I actually prefer to use aperture mode over the regular portrait mode, but it is what it is. Then right next to aperture mode, we got our night mode, which essentially just boosts the colors and tries to get all the light boosted up, especially when you're in low light environments. Okay, and then we got portrait mode right next to that, which is something I already covered. Now this portrait mode, unlike aperture mode, it only detects faces. Okay, so as I said, if it were me, I would actually use aperture mode to take all of my blurred effect photos, but you can use portrait mode if you would like, so on and so forth. Then we got the regular photo mode here. Then we got the regular video mode right here. And then we got the more settings here, where we got pro mode for photos. We got the slow motion mode here. And let me just show you, if we tap on slow motion, you can see we can do 480 frames per second in 720p, which is 16 times. Or if we tap that down, we could do 120 frames per second, okay, which is 4 times, also in 720p. So that's your slow motion right there, okay. Then if we go back into more, other than slow motion, we got our panoramic photos. Now, the thing that I don't like is they don't let you do panoramic photos. For things like your Galaxy devices, you could do panoramic photos and panoramic video, but it is what it is. So other than that, let's go back in again. Okay, we have our AR lenses. We could do our light painting effects. We got an HDR mode. We got time lapse. This is pretty much all self-explanatory. We got our moving picture or our live photo mode. We got all of our filters, and we got our AR stickers, our emoji stickers. All right, so that's all the modes for your Huawei Y9 Prime cameras. All right, and the interesting thing is, if you want a detailed breakdown on what all this stuff can do, you hit this little icon up in the upper right hand corner, and it gives you a detailed breakdown in written out as to what all the modes do, so you can best understand when to use them and how to use them. So I like that. It's buried in the camera settings, and it's not something that you have to jump out of the cameras to learn more about. So I actually like that. I think that's pretty cool. So if you ever get confused as to what a particular mode is for or what it does, you just check that out if you would like to know more information. So really nice touch there. Okay, and then let's jump out of this. All right, now let's continue this walkthrough here. So just below your quick modes, we have our shutter button for taking photos. Now if you go into videos, it turns into your video recording button. Okay, right there. And then right next to that, we have our quick shortcut to our gallery, and then we have our quick shortcut to the right to take us to the front-facing camera. So you can see if I hit this, it brings us to the front-facing 16 megapixel sensor. All right, and the 16 megapixel sensor, just like the rear, can only record in up to 1080p at 30 FPS. All right, so good stuff there. Okay, now certain modes that you do with the front, you cannot do with the rear. Okay, so we still have our AR mode, our AI mode. We still have our portrait mode, but if we do things like night mode, it kicks us back to the rear. If we want to take advantage of aperture mode, got to go back to the rear for that. So there's only certain things that we can do with the front-facing camera, but you can get a lot more done with your rear-facing camera than you can with the front. Okay? So now let's take a deeper look into the settings, the sub-settings for the camera before we take a look at the photo samples and the video samples and wrap this video up. So now let's start off with the front-facing camera sub-settings first. So if you hit the gear icon in the upper right-hand corner, this is where you can get some more additional information and do some additional configurations for the front-facing camera. So right at the top here, you can see that the front-facing camera is indeed a 16 megapixel sensor, but if we tap on that, it's 16 megapixels in the 4:3 aspect ratio. So there's no more you could do with the front-facing camera. It's 16 megapixels and 4:3. That's all there is to it, right? Then if we go down, we got our location tags, which add the location codes to your photos and videos. Now, for privacy reasons, I always recommend that you turn that off, okay? So I'm always going to turn that off, at least on any and all of my devices. Then, right next to that, we got our mirror reflection. So it flips the selfie around or the photo around to the proper orientation after you take it. Then we can mute the shutter. We can add the timer for photos. Okay, there's no timer for videos. We could do voice control shots here. So just by saying these key phrases, you can start, take a photo or start a video, okay? Or you can set it up to where if it detects a loud noise, it would do the same things. But let's just turn that off, okay? I was doing that to take some photos earlier where I didn't have to move my hands. I could just say the phrase while holding everything in place and take the photo. But honestly, I don't like that. But it does come in handy when you need to use it, all right? So other than that, we got our smile capture. So if the camera detects a smile or a face, you can configure it to take a photo. And then we got our gesture control. So you hold your palm up and do this, and it will snap a picture. And then this is the shortcut to launch the cameras, launch you into the camera app. So they call it their Ultra Snapshot. So you can configure it to open the cameras and take a quick picture, or you can configure it just to open the cameras, or you could just turn it off if you don't want to use it. Now I like that shortcut, so I leave it turned on, but just to open the cameras, so that's right there. Okay, then you can reset your default settings back to stock, okay? And if we jump to video now, this is where we can verify some more information. Let's jump back into the sub settings, and if we go to resolution here, you can see for video we max out at 1080p 30 fps, but we can shoot in the 19:9, so take full advantage of the display, or we can shoot in the 16:9. Okay, also we can shoot in at 720p at 30 fps, and they do give you access to the newer codec to compress your videos, but it may or may not catch the audio if you use the newer codec, so you may have trouble playing it if you decide to use the new compressed codec, okay? But there it is, and it's got everything neatly laid out and in a nice representational style, so you can definitely understand what's going on. So I like that, and that's pretty much the whole walkthrough for the front-facing cameras. Okay, and I think with this device, I've taken more selfies than I normally would. So that just goes to show you how good I think these cameras are. Do they need work? Yes. Are they perfect? No. But it is what it is. Alright, so that's the front-facing camera. Now let's jump back to the rear and take a look at some more stuff in the sub settings. So let's jump back around here. Let that close up. Hit the gear icon in the corner here. And since we're still in video mode, we'll cover this first. So if you tap on that gear icon and we're in video mode, you can see on the main camera here, is 16 megapixels, and it does give you the ability to shoot in up to 1080p at 30 FPS in the 19:9 or the 16:9. Now, you can see on the screen that it does say 1080p 60, but I found through various verification applications that it's not true 1080p 60. It's more like an upscale. And one of the ways that I verify that is I use this app called Open Camera, because it unlocks all of the settings on whatever device that you installed it on. So I actually set it to 1080p 60 in Open Camera, and it told me that it wasn't supported on this device. So that's how I verified that it's not actually shooting in 1080p at 60 frames per second. My bad, y'all. You know I can't talk sometimes. So it does max out at 1080p 30 FPS, as you can see right there. Then you have your location tags, again, something that I turn off. Then you got your ultra shutter to take you straight into the camera just by clicking the volume down, double tapping the volume down, so on and so forth. Okay? So, good stuff there. Now, if we jump back to the photos for the rear facing camera, you can see if we jump in here and go into resolution, it is a 16 megapixel sensor, but if you want to downscale it so you could do the square, you're going to downscale that megapixel count to 12 megapixels. If you want to take full advantage of the whole display, you're going to have to downscale it to 10 megapixels. So if you want to use all 16 megapixels, you're once again going to be stuck shooting in the 4:3 aspect ratio, so you may end up with some letterboxiness going on there. Okay? So that's that. Then I said I was gonna show y'all how to get the grid lines. You can see our assisted grid lines just below our location tag information, which is something, again, I always turn off. Then we got the muted shutter, the timer, which is only for photos. As y'all saw, we don't get any timer controls in video, and pretty much all of the other things that we already went over. So smile detection, audio capture, so on and so forth. And let's go ahead and jump to the ultra wide camera now so we can verify that. So now we're in the ultra wide, and we jump back into the sub settings and we hit resolution. This is where you can verify that the ultra wide camera is indeed 8 megapixels, and you can see the relevant information here. So if you want to use all 8 megapixels, you're going to be shooting in the 4:3. If you want to shoot a square photo, it's going to be 6 megapixels. If you want to shoot full resolution for the display, it's going to be 5 megapixels. Okay? Everything else is all the same. And one of the things that I like about the Huawei cameras is that everything you could do with the primary camera, you can do with the ultra-wide camera. So you can see I got my tap to focus here. I got my exposure controls. Alright? I can lock the focus if I would like. So we can lock that focus up. All that good stuff here, which is something that I've been asking for a long time with your ultra-wide cameras. So I'm really happy to see that. And you can, again, transition between your ultra-wide and your primary extremely easily, and all the same functionality carries over. So that's one thing that I really like about the Huawei cameras, especially on this more budget to mid-range device here. Really good stuff. Okay? So this pretty much goes over the software or the camera interface on the Huawei Y9 Prime 2019. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut to the photo samples, then I'm going to cut to the video samples, and we'll wrap this video up. So I will see y'all at the end of the video, and I hope y'all enjoyed the rest of the video. Have a good one, y'all. How's everybody doing today? Back again with another video for you guys and gals. And today, what I have for everyone is we're going to jump into the camera testing with the Y9 Prime 2019. So this is the first set of camera tests for the Huawei Y9 Prime 2019, and this is being recorded with the primary and the secondary primary wide camera and the secondary ultra wide camera, rear facing cameras of the Y9 Prime 2019 in 720p resolution at 30 frames per second with no external microphones hooked up. So everything you guys and gals are seeing and hearing is coming directly from the Huawei Y19 Prime, the Prime 2019, with no editing or anything like that. So all I do with these is I stitch the footage together and I give it to y'all in one big video, timestamps and all. Alright? So starting off, we're going to do our pans first. So we're going to pan from here all the way through to right about there and back. We're going to do this 3 times. Alright? And the video looks a little dim to me because I forgot to adjust the brightness. So this is 1. Let me know what y'all think of this footage, the stabilization, and the audio quality down below. Here we go with the end of 2 now. Come on back. And here we go with number 3. Alright. Now we're going to do our exposure testing. So we're going to focus on that tree in the distance. Then we're going to pan down to the ground. And we're going to pan up and out to the tree. And what we're looking for when we test the exposure is we want a nice even transition from the lighter areas to the darker areas with minimal exposure blowout. And if these cameras blow out, we want them to recover as smoothly as possibly and quickly as possibly, okay? So here we go. We're going to do this 3 times. So we're focused down on the ground. Now we're going to pan up and out to the tree in the distance. Alright, that's 1. Let me know what y'all think. Go back to the ground now. That's 2. It's overexposing a little bit, but it's recovering nicely. It's a little bit of a pop when it recovers. And here we go with the last one. That's 3. Alright, so that's the exposure test. Now, a neat thing with the Huawei device is you can switch between the primary wide camera and the ultra wide camera while recording video. You just tap on that 1X. And once you tap on that 1X, it switches from the regular to the wide. So now we're in wide angle. So y'all can see the difference. And you can still take photos while in video as well. And this wide angle sensor is an 8 megapixel ultra wide sensor right here. Okay. And another neat thing, and this is something I've been asking for a very long time, we have focus controls and exposure controls with the wide angle sensor. So this to me makes this set of cameras on the Huawei device the most complete set of cameras that I've ever experienced at this price point. And probably some of the most complete cameras ever, because it's one of the first sets of wide angle cameras that actually give you focus controls and exposure controls. No other device that I've had the privilege of experiencing gives you that type of capability with the ultra wide camera. Alright, so Huawei is definitely doing some big things here. Okay, so we can go back to the primary now just by tapping again. Now we're back in the primary. Now let's test out the focusing speeds. Now this device does have continuous autofocus as well as tap to focus. So the first thing we're going to test here is the continuous autofocus. So I'm going to pick my 3 focal points. We're going to use that tree in the distance. We're going to use this white pillar here. and we're going to use that tree on the other side of the driveway. And I want y'all to let me know if the device is keeping everything in focus. We're going to test this 3 times, and then we're going to test the tap to focus, and we're going to move on to another test. So starting off with the tree on the other side of the driveway, it looks in focus. It looks a little bit overexposed. Coming over to this pillar here, going over to that big tree across the way, 1. Coming back to the tree on the other side of the driveway, going to this pillar right here, and going to the big tree, 2. Going back to the tree on the other side of the driveway, pillar, big tree, 3. Okay, so now let's test the tap to focus. And then we're going to switch focus points here. So we're going to use those bushes over there on the other side of the tree, other side of the street. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm having trouble talking. I think I'm coming down with the flu, but I'm still trying to get these videos in. So if y'all hear me tripping over my words more than usual, I don't really feel too well, but this is something that I love to do. So whether I'm sick or not, we're going to try and get it in. So here we go. I apologize. So we're going to use the bushes here as another focal point. Going to use this big tree again. And then I like that cloud over there. We're going to use that cloud. Yes, I'm strange like that. We're going to use this cloud as a focus point. So here we go. Tapping on the bushes. Boom. It locked up. That was like fractions of a second. And I did see that it tried to readjust the exposure as well. But that was really, really quick. Coming over to the tree here. Boom. It's locked up. Dang, that was quick. And then going over to the clouds. Boom. It's locked up. Again, super duper quick. Back to the tree, boom, locked up. Back to the bushes, boom, locked up. And again, we still do have exposure controls as well. So if I tap in, we swipe down, we could darken up the scene. We swipe up, we can brighten up the scene, or we can lock it in to whatever we want. And I do like the fact that they give you a number to go along with it. So it's not just a slider. When we're zooming in and out or we're controlling the exposure, they give you a number, whether it be negative exposure or positive exposure. I like that. So really good stuff there, Huawei. I can appreciate that. And the UI for this is really clean and straightforward, so I can appreciate that as well. And again, we can take photos while in video, so let's take a few shots here real quick of them bushes. Bam. Let's get this cloud over here. Bam. And then let's get that tree over there. Bam. Super fast shutter speed while taking photos. I like that. Okay, so that pretty much goes over the focusing test. Now, to round out the video, we're going to test the zoom. Okay, so we can do pinch to zoom here. Now, I didn't see any volume controls inside of the camera app, but if I missed something, please correct me. And I'll be sure to take a deep dive look when we go over the camera interface, but I didn't see any. But we still got pinch to zoom here. So we could take it up, starting off, we can go all the way out to 6 times, 0.6 times. This is in the ultra wide sensor. Now we're all the way out. So when you pinch all the way out, you got a little slider across the bottom. And you can see when you're on the wide angle camera, because it says wide, and then you get an indicator that says 0.6 times. If you're out this wide, that means you're on the ultra wide sensor. And then you can pinch in or slide in, and then you'll see it pop over to the primary sensor at about 1 times. Okay, so 1 times, which is the majority of what we've been filming in this video, is with the primary sensor. So this is 1 time zoom. Now we're going to take it up to 1.5 times. So this is 1.5 times zoom here. Let me know what y'all think of the stabilization on this. Now, I can enable software stabilization, but I do have to sideload a third-party app for that. Again, I didn't see any stabilization controls inside of the stock camera app. Okay, so let me know what y'all think of this. This is 1.5 times. Now, again, as I always say, if you want to zoom in with your smart devices, I never recommend you go up past this right here. This is 2 times zoom right here, okay? This is the maximum that I would recommend you use unless you have a smart device that has a dedicated zoom or telephoto lens. If not, go up to 2 times zoom, and if you still need to get closer, you need to physically get as close to your subject as possible. So this right here is 2 times zoom. Okay, now just because I know some of you guys like to see this sort of thing, let's go up to 4 times zoom. So this is 4 times zoom. How's the stabilization? The detail is looking surprisingly good on here. Stabilization is a little bit shaky, and the color is looking surprisingly good on here as well. Huawei is definitely doing their thing, man. They're doing their thing. Alright, so this is 4 times zoom right here. Now let's max this bad boy out and see what happens. So maximum zoom, 6 times zoom here. And y'all can see the image did degrade, but the colors look really good still. And we still have a noticeable amount of detail in here. But again, I wouldn't recommend using this for too long. And actually, I gotta hurry up because staring at it like this is giving me a little bit of a headache. But this is six times zoom with your Huawei Y9 Prime 2019. So let's zoom this back out. Alright, and now we're at the ultra wide yet again. Alright, y'all, so real quick, rear-facing camera test with the rear-facing cameras on the Huawei Y9 Prime 2019. Now, in particular, we tested out primarily here the primary 16 megapixel sensor and the secondary ultra-wide sensor. Now, the primary sensor is a wide sensor, and then there's an 8 megapixel ultra wide sensor, just so y'all know the difference. And then I do believe we have a 2 megapixel depth sensor on board. So there's 3 cameras on the rear on this device. All right. Now what I want to do is we're gonna go ahead and throw this on the tripod real quick and extend my little smartphone stabilizer, and we're going to do some front-facing video tests with the front-facing 16 megapixel pop-up camera on the Huawei Y9 Prime 2019. Alright, so I will be right back. Alright, and now we are back in, guys and gals. This time we're testing out the front-facing 16 megapixel sensor on the Huawei Y9 Prime 2019, and this also is being recorded in 720p at 30 fps with no external microphone hooked up here. So all I really have for these tests is if I'm indoors and I feel like I need to use a dedicated microphone, I'll let you guys and gals know. But all the outdoor footage you guys and gals are going to see is going to be done strictly using the device itself and maybe one of my smartphone stabilizers and a tripod or 2. So right here, we're using one of my favorite smartphone stabilizers in the Ulenzi smartphone stabilizer here. And then we're also using the tripod from the ADAI extender pole. All right. Other than that, we got my ReadyCam universal grip on here as well. And then there's nothing else being used. So everything you guys and gals are seeing and hearing is coming directly from the cameras and the microphones on the Huawei Y9 Prime 2019. Okay, so let me know what y'all think of this. Starting off with some nice stationary footage here. And I could tell y'all, just from looking at it, it looks pretty good. Now I do see it overexposing the background every so often. And it blew out the wall behind me here. It's not an icy white like this. And there is a texture to it, so it is overexposing. And if you watch the video, you can see that every so often it will shift to like a darker tone, and it'll make me super dark. So these cameras, although they are good, they do struggle a little bit, and that's something that I'm noticing as I'm continuing to test it out. So you can see it got super dark, and then it's going to jump back to being really light here. But let me just check one thing. Do we have tap to focus with the front face camera? We do. Okay, so we do have tap to focus with the front facing camera, and that does mean that I could potentially lock the exposure as well. So let's check that. Yep. And I can lock the exposure. So now it shouldn't jump to extremely dark because I just locked the exposure. Man, Huawei out here doing it big. They giving you everything you need on your cameras to make it happen. I like that. I like that. Huawei out here doing it big. So, let me know what y'all think of this stationary footage. Now what I'm going to do is we're going to pick everything up here, and I'm going to give y'all some stabilization tests. Let me know what you think of my skin tones, the focus, and the overall color representation. Also, let me know what you think of the overall audio being produced by the microphones. Alright? Really good stuff there. So, now let's pick everything up. And y'all can see, I can pick everything up here. And we can pan around this way. Man, that looks really good. And I can pan back around this way. That looks really good as well. Now, it's still overexposing the back of the house wall here, but it is what it is. For the most part, it's keeping me, the subject, in detail and in focus. So that's pretty good. And if I ever need to adjust the exposure, I can do that in real time. So really good stuff. Let me know what y'all think of this. Now I'm going to put everything down and we're going to run inside and we're going to do some more tests. So I will be right back. Alright y'all, so now we are indoors and it's still daytime, but this is more of a daytime low light settings. And once again, we're testing out the front facing 16 megapixel camera on the Huawei Y9 Prime 2019, and this is also being recorded in 720p at 30 fps with no external microphone hooked up here, because I'm noticing that this device, as well as the Bold device, does not support external audio via the headphone jack out of the box. So if you use the stock camera app, you're not going to get that functionality. So the only way we can get that external audio support is by using a third-party app. But being as I'm trying to test these devices out exactly how they come from the manufacturer, I just thought it was only fair that if it doesn't support it, that we just go ahead and don't use it. So these tests right here, as with the Bold test you guys and gals saw, were done using the stock camera app with no external audio. And if I said external audio was used, that means I was using a third-party camera app. And you guys and gals know my third-party camera app of choice is always going to be Open Camera app, okay? So, starting off, let me know what y'all think of this stationary front-facing camera footage, alright? Now, let's go ahead and pick everything up. Give y'all some stabilization testing here. So, as we pick everything up and pan around, what do y'all think of this? Pan back over this way. What do y'all think of this? Now, I'm seeing in the viewfinder here, it's definitely having some trouble with the exposure. But for the most part, it looks pretty good. So, I can't complain. Alright, let's put it back down. Alright. Okay. Position this back up. Yeah. That actually looks really good in the frame. So, real quick front-facing camera test. Let me know what y'all think of this. Now let's go ahead and do a similar daytime low-light test with the rear-facing cameras on the Huawei Y9 Prime 2019, also which will be done with no external audio. So let me switch to the rear-facing cameras and we'll be right back. Hold up. Selfie in here. Ooh. Got it. Okay, I'll be right back. Let's test out these rear-facing cameras. See y'all in a bit. Alright, y'all. So now, here's a real quick daytime low-light testing with the rear-facing cameras on the Huawei Y9 Prime 2019. So just so y'all can see, let me pan up the camera and angle over. So y'all can see this is indeed daytime. It's still daytime outside. And I did close up the shades. So this is daytime low light. As y'all can see, the overall room lighting here is pretty dark. Alright, just so y'all can see that. And now let's position this up in more of a reviewer style approach. So let me pan over here. That looks good. And let's pan down. That looks really good. So y'all can see This is more of a traditional reviewer angle here. But my favorite angle to use would be this right here. So I would angle it down just like that. Then I'd back it up just a touch, like right there. And then boom, this is it. This bottom part of my table here is what I use when I do my reviews. So y'all can see this is typically where my keyboard sits. This is a Logitech wireless keyboard and mouse. And you can't see it, but behind my TV there is my stick PC. And typically after I'm done editing and uploading my videos to YouTube, I will get on the computer and fill out the descriptions. So this is my overall office setup in here, just so y'all can see. But let's angle this back down. So bam, that's perfect, y'all. With the lighting coming in here, this would be perfect to record a review. All right. And if I wanted to go one step further, the neat thing is, let's say I wanted to test out the wide angle. All it is one press of the button. Boom. And now we're in the wide angle camera. And now y'all can see my microfiber cleaning cloth, all that. Wow, you can even see my sneakers in the frame. This is a ultra wide angle camera, and this is the 8 megapixel ultra wide camera here. So really good stuff. And then check out the focus on this, y'all. Really crisp focus, even with the ultra wide camera. This is what I'm talking about. Woo! Huawei out here killing the game. And you get all this in a device for this price. Craziness, man. Craziness. Now, if I wanted to, I can record all my videos with this ultra wide camera because one, I get everything in the frame, but two, now I have focus controls. So y'all can see this. I can record any type of review with my wide angle camera and we'll be good to go. And y'all can see y'all still get a lot of detail and tons of focus. Now all I would need to do here is adjust the brightness on my device. So y'all can see if I take the brightness down. Now this is usable right here. Now that was a little bit too low. So if we put it up to more of a usable level. Alright, so like right there. Look at that. You can see the text real good. Everything is nice and sharp. And we're still using the wide angle camera. Look at this. It's not super sharp, but it's usable. Alright, Huawei. I see y'all. See if I tap the focus on here. It does get a little bit better. But this is what I'm talking about. Really good cameras. Really good primary camera. Really good ultra wide camera. I can't complain. Alright. So real quick. Daytime, low light settings, camera test here for you guys and gals. Let me know what y'all think of this. Alright? What do y'all think of all the detail that's coming through on this camera? What do y'all think of the focusing speed? So if I bring in my Logitech mouse here, it focused up pretty quick. Take it out, it focused on my keyboard pretty quick. Bring it back in. Again, really quick focus. What do y'all think of the detail? What do y'all think of the audio? All that good stuff, let me know. Now what we're going to do is I'm going to wait till a little bit later on, till after sunset, and we're going to do a similar test with these rear-facing and front-facing cameras in the nighttime, low-light, artificial lighting settings. So I'll be right back with that test. All right, see y'all in a little bit. Alright y'all, so now we are back in, and this time we're testing out the rear facing and the front facing cameras on the Huawei Y9 Prime 2019 in nighttime low light artificial lighting settings here. So starting off, I decided that we're going to mix this up a little bit. This is a rear facing vlog style test, rear facing stationary vlog style test of the 8 megapixel ultra wide camera on the Huawei Y9 Prime 2019. Guys, never before since I started reviewing electronics or smartphones, have I come across a device that has everything that I want in it as far as cameras go until the Y9 Prime 2019. Now, y'all know I was never a big fan of having super high resolutions when it comes to video recording. I was never a big fan of having super high resolution displays when it comes to these devices. But what I did care about, one of the things that I was absolutely the most passionate about when it comes to these smart devices, is the wide angle camera and the focusing capabilities in terms of those said wide angle cameras, and the overall battery life and charge times. If I'm a stickler for anything when it comes to reviewing these smart devices, it will be the wide angle camera, if it has one, and the overall battery life and charge times. And in my testing of this Huawei Y9 Prime 2019, I gotta say, at least where the cameras are concerned, this is really, really good stuff. Sure, it doesn't have 4K recording, but it does have 720p 120 frames per second slow motion, and it also has 720p 480 frames per second slow motion. So in terms of the cameras, the only things this device is missing is the 4K video recording. Yes, that's right, because this can also record in 1080p at 60 FPS. So these cameras overall, even though they're not the best, they are really good for what it is and what's available on this device. Anyways, just wanted to start this low light artificial lighting test off with a rear facing vlog style test on the Huawei Y9 Prime 2019. This turned out to be one of my favorite cameras of 2019. Now let's move on with the regular test. I'll be right back. Alright y'all, so now we are back in, and this time we're testing out the rear-facing primary 16 megapixel sensor on the Huawei Y9 Prime 2019, as well as the secondary 8 megapixel ultra-wide sensor on the Y9 Prime. Alright, and just so y'all can see, if I pick up everything and pan the camera around here, it is indeed nighttime, and this is indeed low light artificial lighting settings. If I pan up here, y'all can see the only thing we have lighting up the scene is my overhead artificial room lights. Okay, so just so y'all know how everything is, because y'all know we're all about keeping it straight 100 around here, just so y'all can see that. So now let me put everything back down and we'll start up this test. Okay, here we go. Alright, and now what I want to do is I just want to position everything up as if I was going to do a review for you guys and gals. And also, like I said, there is no external audio hooked up here in any of these tests. So let me know what y'all think of the onboard audio and the video cameras and that stuff down below in the comments. Now, we got this straight on. So this is about straight on here. And now all I would need to do is angle the cameras down. So that looks really good right there. But me, myself, I like to angle it down like this. And then what I would do is pull the second part of my desk out like this. And then when I would record my reviews, I would have the device on this area right here. I'd have my notes or my bullet points, not really notes because none of my videos are scripted. My bullet points would probably be up on the device up here, where y'all couldn't see it, but I could see it, and I leave the display on so I could see the bullet points. This is where I kind of keep myself on track. Then I'd angle everything down, so y'all just focus on what y'all need to focus on, and then we get it in. Now, the neat thing is, with a large majority of the cameras that I do reviews with, when I push record, it actually punches itself in. So you can see with the Huawei cameras, because the primary 16 megapixel sensor is a wide angle camera, you're still getting a lot in the edges of the frame here. Okay? And that's even before you go ahead and tap that 1x, which will bring you out to ultra wide. So once you tap the 1x on the screen, it punches you out to the ultra wide, and now we're using the ultra wide 8 megapixel camera. And for the most part, I gotta tell y'all, this 8 megapixel camera is pretty good. Now, I do notice a slight difference in the color science between the two cameras, but for the most part, everything the primary camera can do, the ultra-wide camera could do. So in terms of focus, in terms of retaining a lot of detail, the ultra-wide camera does a really great job. So y'all can see right here. Now, because of the poor lighting in here, there is not a lot of detail being represented. But if this room was well lit, this would actually have a lot of detail to it. And I still have focus controls with the ultra-wide camera. So I can use the ultra-wide camera to record my videos. Or I could tap back in and use the primary camera. Y'all can see the difference between the color science is very slight between the two. There is a noticeable loss in detail, but it is what it is. And that's even before I go ahead and zoom in the camera properly. So if it was me, I would probably punch it in somewhere to where y'all can't see my note device. So somewhere like that, and then I angle it down like this. That would be perfect, and it would be good to go. But even still, even if I just wanted to use the regular primary camera like this and then punch it in digitally after recording the video, which might be a little bit better to do and I still retain a lot of detail, this overall still looks pretty good. So let me know what y'all think of this, okay? Let me know what y'all think of the detail on the main camera. Let me know what y'all think of the detail on the ultra-wide camera. Let's check the focusing speeds now. So here's my Logitech mouse, and everything looks like it's in focus. Let's take it out the frame. Okay, focused up pretty good. Let's bring it back in. Alright, so bring it out, bring it in. Not bad. Focus seems to be pretty quick indeed. And let's get some close-up of a few products here. So the keyboard. Now you can see in terms of the detail, the main sensor still retains a large majority of the detail, even if the lighting scenarios are not the best. So not bad. Now I do have to clean off my keyboard, but it is what it is. Then I got my smartphone here, S6 active. Detail on that looking pretty good as well. Alright, good stuff. Alright, so we don't really need to make this video too much longer. This has been a rear-facing camera test, testing out the rear-facing 16 megapixel primary and the 8 megapixel ultra-wide camera on the Huawei Y9 Prime 2019. Let me know what y'all think of this one. Now what I'm going to do is a little bit later on next week, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give y'all the 1080p 30 clips and the 1080p 60 clips, and that will conclude all of the camera testing for the Huawei Y9 Prime, okay? At which point, I'll stitch everything up into a nice little video for y'all, timestamps and all, and release it up to y'all so y'all can tell me what y'all think. Alright, so I'll be right back with the next set of clips. See y'all in the next one, y'all. Peace. How's everybody doing today? Back again with another video for you guys and gals. And today, what I have for everyone is we're continuing our camera testing on the Huawei Y9 Prime 2019. Alright, so here today, we're out here by the pool today, and we're going to get in some more camera tests. Now, the maximum recording resolution for the Huawei Y9 Prime 2019 is 1080p at 30 FPS. But you can record 1080p at 30 FPS in the 16:9 or the 19:9. So today's clips are going to be recorded with the front and rear facing cameras on the Huawei Y9 Prime 2019 in 16:9, 1080p, 30 FPS. So without further ado, let's get started. Now starting off, we're just starting here with some nice stationary footage for y'all. Let me know what you think of this. Also, we're not using external audio here today, so everything you guys and gals are seeing and hearing are coming directly from the Huawei Y9 Prime 2019 itself, okay? So let me know what you think of this. Also, we are using the On-Go production kit here today and the Tyrian smartphone mount, along with my mini Manfrotto tripod for extra stabilization. So please let me know what you think of the overall stabilization throughout this video as well. All right, so nice stationary bit of footage. Let's pick everything up now and let's start the pans. So we're gonna pan all the way from here, all the way through to right about there and back. We're gonna do this 3 times. So that's 1. Here we go with number 2. And here we go with number 3. All right, next. Now what we're gonna do is we're going to test the exposure. In order to do that, we're gonna pan from the pool deck here, so right down here, all the way up to that tree right over there in the distance. And when we're testing the exposure, what you guys and gals are looking for is a nice smooth transition from the lighter areas to the darker areas, or vice versa, with minimal exposure blowout. And if it does blow out, you want it to recover extremely fast and extremely even. So here we go. We're focused on the pool deck here. And before we start the test, which we're gonna do 3 times, I gotta tell y'all, it's not accurately displaying the colors of the pool deck. Now, let me see if I can fix it. Yeah, there we go. So that's the accurate color of the pool deck right there. So the really nice thing is that I can adjust the exposure levels to try and balance out the color aspects of the camera. But as y'all can see, this is the accurate color for the pool deck. So it's a 2-tone. It's a white rim with an off eggshell brown. Okay, that's the accurate colors. But if I pan all the way down here and reset the exposure to automatic, you can see it kind of wants to push everything to like a white or a light shade of white. And that's not exactly accurate. The accurate color is right there. So it does have some exposure issues and some accuracy issues, but for the most part, it's pretty good. Just wanted to point that out. Let's continue on with the test. So pan down all the way down to the pool deck here. We got focus. Now let's go up and out to the tree. And now we're on the tree. So y'all can see there was a big shift in exposure, but for the most part, it did a good job. That's number 1. Let's do this again. Down to the pool deck. Up to the tree. That's number 2. Down to the pool deck. Up to the tree. That's number 3. So for the most part, it does a good job. And you can see it's a little bit of a harder test today, considering that it's very overcast today and it's quite rainy. So these cameras got to work extra hard to try and balance out the colors. But y'all let me know how you think it's doing. Now, the next thing we need to do is test out the focusing speeds. So with the Huawei Y9 Prime 2019, we do have continuous autofocus as well as tap to focus here. So I'm gonna pick 3 focus points and we're gonna test out the continuous autofocus first. I like that pool ball there. Okay, we're gonna use the big mango tree in the distance over there. That looks good. And we're gonna use this pool chair right here. So I'm gonna cycle through these 3 times and y'all let me know how the cameras are doing with the focus, exposure, detail, and stabilization. Here we go. Pool chair. Ball. I think that's in focus. Mango tree. What do y'all think? One more time. Pool chair. Ball. Mango tree. That's number 2. Here we go again. Pool chair. Ball. Mango tree. All right, so that's the continuous autofocus. Now let's do the tap to focus. Let me change my grip. Okay, so pool ball, tap, boom. Now y'all can see when you use the tap to focus, there's a noticeable adjustment in the exposure when you tap on your subject. So pool chair, y'all see the difference. And then if you go over to the tree, tap, again, y'all see the difference. But the overall focusing speeds on here are pretty good. Let's try this again. Let's go back to the ball here. All right, which is floating away. Ball, there you go. So it's a slight snap, and it tries to adjust the exposure and lock the focus, but it's pretty quick. Pool chair. Oops, didn't mean to zoom in there. Hold on. Let's go back to the regular. Pool chair. Okay. And mango tree. Right there. Okay. So pretty good tap to focusing speeds overall. Alright. Now we're gonna finish up this test with some zoom testing here. And again, y'all let me know what you think. So let's pick a subject to zoom into and see how the cameras perform. Now, everything that I covered with the main sensor, you can also do with the wide angle sensor. And if you want to switch to the 8 megapixel wide angle sensor, the ultra wide sensor, all you have to do is tap that 1X on the screen. So if I tap it, y'all can see now we punch out to the 8 megapixel ultra wide sensor, and everything that I demonstrated on the primary wide sensor, 16 megapixel primary wide sensor, you can do on the 8 megapixel ultra wide sensor. So focus controls, exposure controls, so on and so forth. All right. So I just wanted to demonstrate that. Let's go back to the primary. So let's punch back in, and now let's test the zoom. Now, if you want the full range of zoom, you punch out to the ultra wide, and now we're all the way out, and you can use the pinch to zoom. So you can pinch in, and now we're in the primary, or you can pinch out and we're on the ultra wide, and you can stop at any area in between here. So I can go to 1.8 or 0.8 because we're on the ultra wide sensor. Zoomed all the way out, it's actually set to 0.6. Okay. So you can pinch to zoom, or a nice little scroll slider comes up and you can slide your finger to control the zoom. So 0.6, 0.8, 0.9, 1 times, and we're on the primary. 2.6, 3, 6, 6 is the highest it goes up to. So that's the maximum zoom. So let's test these zoom ranges again. So regular zoom here, let's focus on the tree leaf. So regular ultra wide, 0.6 times. Now let's take it up to the primary. So 1 time zoom right here. So now we're on the primary sensor. Now 1.5 times right here. Let me go up to that tree again, 1.5 times. Right there. Okay. Check out the detail and the focus on that. Also, check out the stabilization. Now, as we zoom in, the key aspects I want you guys and gals to pay attention to is the detail retained and the detail lost, the overall stabilization, and the color accuracy. Because essentially, unless you have a dedicated lens, when you zoom in with your smartphone cameras, you're just digitally cropping the image. So at a certain point, we're going to lose all detail and we're going to lose all stabilization, because as you zoom in, the stabilization gets worse. So that's why I never recommend you zoom in past 2 times zoom. But if you choose to do so, those are things you're going to take into consideration for your shot or your overall photo. So this is 1.5 times. And honestly, the detail on this looks pretty good. All right. Let's take it up to 2 times now. So let's go into 2 times. So this is 2 times zoom right here. Oop, didn't mean to hit that like that. This is 2 times zoom right here. So again, the detail on that looks pretty good. All right. Now, one other thing that I want to point out that I'm kind of sad to see is I can't configure the volume buttons to control the zoom. I can only configure them in the default configuration, which is to take a photo while in photo mode, or take a video while in video mode. So that's all the volume rockers can do. So there's no volume rocker configuration here in the cameras, at least for the stock camera app. All right. So that's that. Kind of bummed about that, but I did want to point it out. So this is 2 times zoom, and this is the maximum zoom I recommend y'all use on your smartphone cameras. So you can see the overall color is retained nicely, the overall detail is retained nicely, and if I move the camera a little bit, the stabilization on here is also pretty good. Now, just for test purposes, let's go to maximum zoom so y'all can see what the camera performs like in the maximum zoom settings. So let's zoom all the way in. 6 times zoom here. And y'all can see now we're zoomed in all the way to that leaf that I was focused on. And what do y'all think? Now, the detail in here looks pretty good for something that's really far away. But if I go to something a little bit closer, you can see the focus starts to jump. The colors are kind of washed out. And for the most part, I wouldn't consider that to be a good image. So you can see the focus is really jumping around from what I could see on the viewfinder. But if you're going for something far away, you do get a lot of detail retained at maximum zoom. So I guess it's there if you want to use it, but I would not recommend it. Okay? So this pretty much concludes the testing of the rear-facing cameras on the Huawei Y9 Prime 2019. Once again, this is in 1080p at 30 FPS, the maximum resolution that you can record with your Huawei device here. And this is the rear-facing 8 megapixel ultra-wide camera, bam, and or the primary 16 megapixel wide camera, bam. All right, so a neat thing that I like about the Huawei devices, at least this Huawei device, is that they give you full control over both sets of cameras, and you actually have a nice range between the cameras. So I can choose to use the ultra-wide, or I can use the primary, and they're both wide-angle sensors. So that's really, really cool. Anyways, now let me switch to the pop-up 16 megapixel front-facing camera, and let's do some more tests. So I will be right back. All right, y'all, real quick switch around, and now we're testing out the front-facing 16 megapixel pop-up camera on the Huawei Y9 Prime 2019, and this also is being recorded in 1080p at 30 FPS, which is the maximum recording resolution for the front-facing 16 megapixel camera. Okay, now this is completely untouched footage, so y'all can see I just spun to the front-facing camera and push record, and y'all let me know what you think of this. Now, based on what I'm seeing, we're starting out with some nice stationary footage here. Based on what I'm seeing here, we do have a little bit of an exposure struggle with the front-facing cameras, and we have exposure issues with the Huawei cameras in general. But the neat thing is I can adjust the focus and exposure on the fly. So y'all can see I can tap to focus on my face. We can lock the exposure there so it's locked in, and then we can adjust it to where we feel it needs to be. So let's do that now. So right about there looks good. So now the focus is locked on my face. So you can see as I move around, it keeps my face in focus. The exposure is locked to a nice respectable level. Now it still blows out the background, as y'all can see right here in the upper right hand portion of the image here. It's still blowing out the background on one side, but on the other side it's doing a really good job retaining the detail of the door, the window, and some other stuff behind me. And for the most part, I feel it's doing a great job with the detail in my face and the skin tones after I locked the exposure and the focus. Before that, you can see it was kind of going a little bit all over the place. Also, I want to get you guys and gals opinions on the audio performance, because there is no external microphone being used here today, and there is no external microphone support with the stock camera. So if I do want to use external microphones, oh, got a notification, I will have to use the third-party camera app. And another thing I want to point out, if you have a Huawei accessory, like I have my Huawei smart band here, y'all can see I can control the cameras with my smart band. So I can start and stop video, I can take photos, all with my smart band, and that's really nice. So I like that. So let's say I wanted to do like a family photo, something that we always do around the holidays. I can use the primary cameras to do all of my photo needs. And if I wanted to do a group photo, we can set everything up, and then I could use my smart band here to take the photo. Same thing with if I was out somewhere and I wanted to record a quick video and I didn't readily have access to the viewfinder to queue everything up the way I would like. Well, I can prep everything, then I can run out, and then when I'm ready to start the video, it's a simple tap on my smart band and tap to start the video, and also tap to stop the video as well. So really, really nice. And I now understand what it means to have an ecosystem that works well with each other. Because this right here, my Huawei band and my Huawei device, they work pretty much seamlessly with each other, and I really had no issues. Okay? So pretty good stuff there. All right. And when Harmony OS comes out, if it does come out for the Huawei devices that are already out, I'll be really interested to take a look at it and give you guys and gals a deep dive on it. So if it does come out in the US and it is more widely available, y'all stay tuned for videos and updates on that. But for the most part, this is some nice stationary footage for y'all. And now let's pick everything up and pan around here. And y'all let me know what y'all think of the stabilization on this one. Now, once again, I still have the focus lock and the exposure lock. So you can see the focus on my face is really good indeed. And I think the overall stabilization is really good as well. Now, you can see because of how I lock the overall image, we are still blowing out one side of the image while keeping the other side in focus. But if I put everything down here, all right, and I reset it back to automatic and pick everything back up, now the camera and the software are trying to do everything. So it's trying to keep my face in focus while trying to expose from my face and the background and retain as much detail. So you can see as I pan around here, y'all can see it does kind of go very shadowy. And if I come back to this side, you can see everything is nice and well lit. So this way I'll get a general idea of the overall front-facing camera performance. Let me put this all back down. All right, so real quick camera test with the front-facing cameras, or as quick as I can make it. Now what I want to do for y'all is I'm going to try and do a vlog-style test with the rear-facing ultra-wide cameras. And I'm also going to try and do that with my Huawei smart band, okay? So let me spin the cameras back around and let's try and get this vlog in with the ultra-wide cameras. So I'll be right back. Okay, so now we are using the primary ultra-wide camera, the secondary ultra-wide camera to record this vlog style test for y'all. And I went ahead and I started everything with my smartwatch here. So y'all should be getting some nice video footage here. Okay, and also I can go ahead and stop everything with my smart band here. So this should be really nice. Again, there is no external audio hooked up. So let me know what y'all think of this. Okay, and this is also being recorded in 1080p at 30 FPS. All right, so real quick test here. I'm really interested to see how this is gonna look, but we can't find out till we push stop. So let me know what y'all think, and I'll catch y'all in the other tests. Let's move on to some other tests now. I'll be right back. So cool right there. I can't get tired of that. Okay, Back in with another camera test for you guys and gals, and now we are indoors, daytime, low light settings. And once again, we are testing out the front-facing 16 megapixel camera on the Huawei Y9 Prime 2019. And this is also being recorded at max resolution, which is 1080p, 30 FPS with the front-facing 16 megapixel camera, and no external audio is hooked up. So please let me know what you guys and gals think of the overall video quality, the overall audio, and the overall detail and stabilization down below in the comments. So starting off, we got some nice stationary footage here, stationary front-facing vlog style footage. Let me know what y'all think. And we did mix it up a little bit because we are using a different setup now. Now we're using the Smooth Q gimbal, the ADAI extender pole, and my mini Manfrotto tripod to stabilize this video here. So let me know what y'all think of this. Now, telling y'all what I think as I look at the image through the viewfinder, I have to say, this looks pretty good to my eyes. The color representation is good. The exposure looks good. It's perfectly exposed. This is exactly what the scene looks like in real life. Okay? So these cameras are doing a good job in this lighting scenario. And this would be perfect if I wanted to do a real quick update for you guys and gals. I wouldn't be mad at this footage. And if the audio that I've been hearing is any indication, the audio from the onboard microphones right now should be really good. So let me know what y'all think of this stationary footage. Now let's go ahead and pick everything up and give y'all a nice little stabilization test, and then we'll move on to some more tests. So here we go. And I do have the Smooth Q gimbal set to handheld mode, which is mode 3. That's 4 fingers. Mode 3. Here we go. So now let's pick everything up and see how the device performs. What do you think? What do y'all think of this? Forget that mess back there. Not bad. Not bad at all. Especially when you consider the lighting that we're working with here. Pretty good stuff. Okay. Alright, let's put this down. And now what I'm going to do for you guys and gals is I'm going to spin everything around, and I'm going to give y'all a rear-facing daytime low-light settings with a more traditional reviewer style setup with the rear-facing 8 megapixel ultra-wide and 16 megapixel wide cameras on the Huawei Y19. So I'll be right back with that next clip for y'all. See y'all in a second. Boy, I'll never get tired of this. And we out. Okay, so now we are back in. I went ahead and spun the cameras around, and now we're testing out the 8 megapixel ultra wide sensor and the 16 megapixel wide sensor on the Huawei Y9 Prime 2019. Now, once again, I'm still using the Smooth Q gimbal and my ADAI extender pole and my mini Manfrotto tripod to stabilize this footage. Alright, so I just wanted y'all to see before we set everything up. If I pan over here, alright, y'all can see it is indeed still daytime and it is low light settings here. So I did close up the shades to let in just a little bit of light, just so y'all can see the lighting settings that we're working with here, because we're all about keeping it straight 100. And now what I need to do, is now I just want to pan everything down and get it set up as if we were going to do a review. So right about there, and then let's put this over here. Alright, even this up. Alright, there. Okay, so now we're set. So now it's set up as if I was going to review something for you guys. And y'all can see I got some smartphones on the table. S7 active. Now, this is low light, so you can see the rear-facing cameras on the Y9 Prime are struggling because we don't have a lot of light to work with. But this is just so y'all can get a general idea of how the camera would perform in this lighting scenario. Alright? Let me know what y'all think. Okay? Alright. And then we got another device over here. Bold N1. Again, similar lighting scenario. Bam. What do y'all think of this? And then also, we got focus controls, so I can tap to focus. I can adjust the exposure, so I can try and bring out all the light in here, which ain't much. Yeah, there's not really much light to work with here. I can lock the focus and the exposure, so now it's locked. Alright, and then I can change between the primary sensor, as y'all see here, and the ultra-wide sensor. So now we're in ultra-wide. And y'all can see in the ultra-wide, you can see a little piece of the gimbal motors right here. So it is indeed picking up more in the frame. But let's go back to the primary. Bam, and now we're back to the primary. And I can even go a step further and zoom in a little bit. Try not to throw off the balance on the gimbal when I do that. There we go. Boom. So now we zoomed in a little bit, and this right here is perfect. If I was going to record a video, I would just need to add some more lighting to the scene, and then we're in business. Alright, so let me know what y'all think of this daytime low light settings here, and how y'all feel the cameras on the Huawei Y9 Prime 2019 performed. And once again, we don't have any external audio hooked up. So how's the audio? How's the video? How's the stabilization? Let me know. And now let's move on to some more tests. I'll be right back. Man, I never get used to pushing this button, man. It's so futuristic. Just tap and tap. Y'all, and now we are back in. This time we are testing out the front-facing 16 megapixel pop-up camera on the Huawei Y9 Prime 2019. This also is in 1080p at 30 FPS, which is the maximum recording resolution for the Huawei Y9 Prime 2019. Okay. And we are also using, yet again, the Smooth Q gimbal, the AD-AI extension pole, and my mini Manfrotto tripod to stabilize this footage. Once again, I'm not feeling too well. It's been a pretty busy day. Back is kind of shot, y'all, and same for the knees. So we're not going to do too much in this camera test. This is pretty much just going to be a stationary vlog style camera test with the front and the rear facing cameras. So let me know what y'all think of this. And again, because we're using the stock camera app for this footage, we are not using external audio of any kind. Okay. So let me know what you think of the onboard microphone performance from the Huawei Y9 Prime 2019, as well as what you think of the front-facing camera here. Now, I'm noticing a trend with the Y9 Prime. It's definitely got some exposure issues, but for the most part, with a little bit of tweaking, you can fix it. But I like to let y'all see the raw performance out of the camera for a little bit before I fix it. So you can see it's overexposing the background, something fierce. Okay, and it's definitely trying to super brighten up the screen. Okay, but what I can do to fix that is I can lock the focus on myself. So we could tap here and lock the focus and lock the exposure and then bring it down. And y'all can see it does fix the blowout in the back. So now you can see the walls on my closet are the right color, and we don't have any overexposure from my door, and now it looks good. But it does sacrifice a little bit of darkness here. So you see I did darken up the overall image on my face here. It's a little bit darker. But this right here is a little bit true to life, because the only light I have lighting up the scene here is my overhead artificial room lights. So this is a low light nighttime artificial lighting test with the front and the rear facing cameras on the Huawei Y9 Prime 2019. Alright, so let me know what y'all think of this. Now what we're going to do is I'm going to spin the cameras around and we're going to do a rear facing camera test in the same lighting scenario with the 8 megapixel ultra wide and the 16 megapixel wide camera on the Huawei Y9 Prime 2019. Damn, that name is a mouthful, man. But I feel like if I don't say the whole thing, y'all are gonna get this confused with the regular Y9, and that one is not edge to edge. That one is actually a completely different device. So I'm kind of stuck saying the whole name of the device so you guys and gals know what it is. But obviously, if you clicked on this video, y'all know which device we're testing here. So maybe I could just not say it at all for the rest of the video. We might just do that. Anyways, I'll be right back. Let me know what you think. See you in 1 second. Oh, don't even have to do that. Could use my smartwatch. And we out of here. Alright, y'all, and now we are back in. And this time we got a rear-facing ultra-wide camera and secondary rear-facing wide-angle camera and secondary ultra-wide camera test for you guys and gals testing out the cameras on the Y9 Prime. Alright? So, just so you can see, once again, let's put the gimbal here into mode 2 so we can pan over with little effort. So, y'all can see it is nighttime, and this is a nighttime low-light artificial lighting test here. So, you can see there's no daylight coming through the windows, and the shades are actually closed up. So, let's pan back over. Alright. And now let's angle this up into more of a traditional reviewer angle approach here. And y'all can see that we are not using any external audio. That's one of my favorite external microphones on the table, the Boya M1. Okay, and y'all can see some of my other microphones on the table. So Movo MA2010, and then way in the back there, we do got the Comica MT06. So we got a bunch of external microphones, and we're not using any of them right now because the stock app does not have external microphone support. So if we angle this down and we go over a little bit, and that actually looks really good. So now the cameras are set up in more of a traditional reviewer style approach, and I'm kind of far away. Let me scoot closer. So what do y'all think of this? Again, because I'm not feeling too well, we just got some nice stationary footage here. So if I wanted to shoot a product demo or show y'all a feature on any one of my devices, this is the angle that I would use. This actually looks pretty good. And you can see I got a bunch of my devices up on the table here. So these three right here are my video production devices. S7 active, S6 active, Alge V30, which needs to be charged. I'm going to go throw this on one of the wireless chargers after this video is done. And then we got the Bold N1 right here, looking good. Now, one thing with these clear cases, they get smudgy, they collect a lot of fingerprints, but it is what it is. It's good to see that they included this case out of the box, along with a tempered glass screen protector. So let me know what y'all think of this. And once again, if I didn't say it, this is using the Smooth Q gimbal, the ADAI extension pole, and my mini Manfrotto tripod to stabilize this footage. And we are not using any external microphones here. So everything y'all are seeing and hearing is coming directly off of the rear-facing cameras on the Y9 Prime itself, okay? Or onboard microphones as well. All right, so let me know what y'all think. So let's light some of these displays up and see how the cameras perform. So, Bold N1, that actually is not bad. It does need some assistance with the focus, but we're going to try and let the device do all the work first. Do that one more time. Yeah. So you could definitely see in lower lighting scenarios, the focus does take a little bit more time. And at least through the viewfinder, that still looks like it's out of focus. But it is what it is. Let's test out the fingerprint scanner here. Really good stuff there. Not bad, not bad. And then let's do a similar test with the ultra wide. So let me just tap that 1x. And that brings us out to the ultra wide. So you can see when we're in the ultra wide 8 megapixel camera, you can see the gimbal motors off to the side. It is what it is, but we get this nice wide field of view, and everything that we can do with the primary camera, we can do with the ultra wide camera. So let's run this focusing test again. So let's light up the screen. And yeah, definitely a lot slower focus when you don't have the right amount of lighting here. Let's test this fingerprint sensor out one more time. Boom, super fast. So that looks pretty good actually. This is usable. I would just have to adjust the brightness a little bit, and then this would be very usable. But yeah, man, that AMOLED display is popping on here, even at low brightness, man. That brightness is like, what, 25%? And look how much it pops the screen and overexposes. Yeah, so ultra wide camera, regular primary camera here, boom. So let's do some more devices real quick. S6 active, what do y'all think? Light up this display, boom. Definitely struggling with the focus. Alright, not bad though. A little bit of focus assist, and you can see it is doing much better after I helped it. Again, primary camera. Now let's take it to the ultra wide. Boom. Ultra wide camera. Do the same test again. How's that focus there? A little bit better. Alright, pretty good. I can use this. And last but certainly not least, S7 active. Let's start with the ultra wide camera first. So light up the display. How's that focus there? Yeah, I gotta adjust the brightness on this, but it's okay. Go back to the primary camera now. Boom. What do y'all think? Light that display up again. Definitely does much better with the focus on the ultra wide camera. Alright. Check out the back of the device real quick. Looking good. Looking good. Go back to the ultra wide. Bam. That also looks good. I gotta say, Huawei also did a good job with matching the color science as good as they can between... Oops, sorry Google, calm down, calm down. With matching the color science as good as they can between their ultra wide camera and their regular primary camera. Because if you look, this is the ultra wide. Take note of the colors. And then here's the regular. Okay, so it's very close. There's a noticeable difference, but it's very close. It's a lot better than other dual camera primary and ultra wide cameras that I've seen. Primarily, one of my favorites is on the LG V30 here, but something that I can't stand with the LG V30 is when you're using the ultra wide camera, you don't have any focus controls, you don't have any exposure controls with the ultra wide camera. It's just a fixed focus sensor on the V30. So I'm very happy to see that at least Huawei is giving you that type of control over both your cameras. So we got focus controls and we got exposure controls with the ultra wide and with the primary. So that's one thing I have to say. Huawei is doing a lot better than the competition, as well as the overall color science between the two lenses is very close. So Huawei is doing a really great job with their cameras. Alright, real quick, rear facing camera test. Let me know what you guys and gals think. How did these cameras do? Let me readjust this a little bit because it's kind of off center. Because I kept tapping the tripod so it kept shifting. Alright, so let me know what you guys and gals think. How did these cameras perform in this low lighting scenario here? Now, in a few days here, when the weather gets better, we're going to take this bad boy outside and we're going to finish up the rest of the camera testing here. And then at which point I have to do a camera walkthrough, and then we're going to put all these photos and video samples together into one big video for you guys and gals. So y'all are going to see this in one big video. So I'm going to just say this. I'll catch you guys and gals in the next clip. See you in a little bit. Peace. Alright everyone, so now we are back in And we're going to start our final set of camera tests with the rear and front facing cameras on the Huawei Y9 Prime 2019. So we're out here in the big yard today and we're wrapping up our final set of tests. These tests are going to be recorded in 1080p at 30 FPS, which is the maximum recording resolution for these cameras. Now, I'm sure you guys and gals have noticed that in the camera walkthrough, there was a 1080p 60 option, but through verification and extended testing, I realize now that that's not exactly 1080p 60. The maximum recording resolution for this device is 1080p at 30 FPS. So that's what we're testing here for the final time. Alright, so we're starting off with some pans here. So you can see we're going to pan all the way from here, all the way through to right about there and back. We're going to do this 3 times. So that was number 1. Alright, here we go with number 2. That's number 2. Coming on back. And here we go with number 3. Also, let me know what you guys and gals think of the audio performance, because we are not using any external audio here today. Alright? So let me know what y'all think of the onboard microphones. Alright? And that's number 3 right there. Now let's go into an exposure test. So we're going to pan down to the ground here. Just like that. And we're going to pan up and out to an object in the distance. Let's use this big tree over here. And what we're looking for is a nice smooth transition from the lighter areas to darker areas, or vice versa, with minimal exposure blowout. And if the camera does blow out, we want it to recover as fast as possible. So we're going to do this 3 times. Here we go. Panning up and out now. Now we're out to that big tree over there. What y'all think? Now it's fairly sunny out here today. I am sitting in the shade. So this is not the typical lighting that we usually like to do with this test, but we got to get it in where we fit in, you know. So back down to the ground, back up and out to the tree. How's the cameras performing? That's number 2. All right. Back down to the ground one more time. Back up to the tree. Bam, and that's number 3. All right. So now we're going to do our final set of focusing tests. And what's really interesting here is that everything I could do with the primary 16 megapixel wide camera, I can do with the ultra wide camera. So you can see if I tap the 1X, now we're out in the ultra wide, and this is the ultra wide 8 megapixel sensor. I have exposure controls, I have focus controls, I have all that stuff here. All right. But let's jump back to the primary real quick. Okay, so the next thing we're going to test is the focusing speed. So we're going to pick 3 focus points here. Now we do have continuous focus as well as tap to focus. So we're going to start off with continuous focus first. So we're going to use this tree right in front of us as 1 focus point. We're going to use the bottom portion of that tree right there as another focus point, right? And then we're going to use that tree over the shed right there as the final focus point. And y'all let me know how these cameras are performing. Is it truly in focus, or does it look kind of out of focus to you? So let's run through these tests. We're going to do this 3 times each. So we're going to do continuous autofocus 3 times and then tap to focus 3 times. Here we go. So starting off with the big tree over the shed. Looks like it's in focus. Coming down to the tree right in front. It also looks like it's in focus. Going over to the bottom tree stump there, it also looks like it's in focus. So that's number 1. Coming back over to the tree over the shed. Boom. Tree right in front. Boom. And tree stump in the distance. Boom. All right, one more time. Tree over the shed. Tree right in front. And tree stump. Okay, now let me switch hands. And let's do the tap to focus. So here we go. Tree over the shed, tap. Locked up, looking good. Tree right in front, tap. locked up a little bit of a pulse there, and then tree stump in the distance, tap, another little bit of a pulse, but it was really quick. The focusing speeds on here seem to be fairly quick. Let's go again. Tree over the shed, tap, lock. Okay, good. Tree right in front, tap, lock. Good stuff. There's a little bit of a pulse and a little bit of shift in the exposure that I can see through the viewfinder, but it's really quick. You blink and you'll miss it. And then tree stump in the distance, tap, lock. So the focusing speed on this is really good. Now the last thing I want to test out with y'all is the zoom. And the zoom is important because it tests out the detail retention as well as the stabilization as you zoom in, okay? And as you zoom in, the stabilization pretty much just gets worse because with these smartphone sensors, at one point or another, we're just going to end up digitally cropping the image. All right, so here we go. But before we start, we got to punch it all the way out to the ultra wide. So let's go all the way wide. Boom. And now there's truly no zoom on this. And this is the 8 megapixel ultra wide sensor. All right. Bam. Now let's pick something that's really far away. Let's do the tree all the way at the other end of the lot there. That's over the other trailer. Let's do that tree right there. Let's lock the focus. And now let's zoom in to one-time zoom here. So let's go in. Okay, so now this is one-time zoom. That looks pretty good. And the stabilization looks good too. Now let's keep going. 1.5 times. So this is 1.5 times right here. That again looks pretty good. I can't complain. Let me see here. Now let's keep going. 2 times zoom here. 2 times zoom. Now this to me is the maximum zoom range that I would recommend you use on your smart devices, because after this the detail retention goes down drastically and the stabilization only gets worse from here. But that looks pretty good. The stabilization looks good. The detail looks good. The colors look good. Yeah, that looks really good. Alright, let's go back to the tree in the distance there. And let's keep it going. So let's go up to 3.5 times. Right there. And you can see there's a noticeable shift in the exposure now. But still looking good. 3 times zoom now. Let's go. 3 times zoom right there. Alright, you can definitely see the loss in detail, and you can also see the stabilization begin to struggle. Alright. Alright, let's keep going now. 4 times zoom. Let's go to that. So 4 times zoom. Oh man, that's really overexposed. The focus definitely looks like it's struggling. Oh yeah, you can tell that's a tree, but you're really losing all detail here. Alright, let's keep going. So 4.5 times. How high can it go? 6 times zoom. Okay, so 4.5 times is the next one. So 4.5 times right here. Yeah, it's pulsing. It's really shaking. And we don't have any type of stabilization, whether it be hardware or software. So, boy. Alright, now let's go up to 5 times. 5 times zoom right here. Okay, let's max it out. So 6 times zoom right there. Oh man, that's really shaky, and I'm really doing my best to hold still. Still really shaky. It's super overexposed. Yeah, now this is just for testing purposes. I would never zoom in this far unless I was testing. So now y'all can see how that performance is. Okay, and you also get an idea of how that stabilization is as well. Alright, let's go back out. That's making my eyes hurt. So let's go back out. Alright, so now we're zoomed all the way back out. This is 1 time. Let's go to the ultra wide. Now we're on the ultra wide. Alright, so let me know what y'all think. How did the cameras perform? Alright, now let's switch to the front-facing 16 megapixel pop-up camera and wrap up this video. I'll be right back. Alright, how's everybody doing? Back in with the final camera test for you guys and gals. And what we're wrapping up here is the front-facing camera test with the Huawei Y9 Prime 2019. Now, y'all have seen a bunch of different clips with this device, and you've seen a bunch of different camera extended coverage. So now that this has culminated with my full camera walkthrough, including the photo and video samples, how do I feel about the cameras on this device? Well, all in all, I would have to say that these are some really good cameras. Aside from the exposure struggle issue that the camera has, the cameras themselves are really good, whether it be the front-facing 16 megapixel camera or the rear-facing 16, 8, or 2 megapixel sensors. The cameras on this device and the versatility that it offers is really good. And I'm going to have to hold on to this device for an extended period of time, because what I'm planning on doing, and I'm going to leave this as a little bit of an Easter egg for you guys to actually watch all of my videos to their conclusion, is what I plan on doing is I'm going to do a full comparison of all the bezel-less devices that I'm able to get my hands on. So you're going to see a full, I think it's 7 devices that I'm looking at, so a full 7 versus slash comparison video between all the bezel-less devices that I'm able to get my hands on. And when we do that video, I'm gonna go ahead and let y'all know which device I feel has the best cameras, the best display, the best software, the best battery life, the fastest charge times, so on and so forth, and overall which one is the best for the price that it's in. Alright, so we're going to have to hold on to this device, the Huawei Y9 Prime 2019, until then, as well as the Bold N1 until then as well. Alright? So, other than that, how do I feel about these cameras? Again, they're really good. Now, let me give y'all some motion testing before we wrap this up. So, starting off, I was doing a nice little stable front-facing video. Now, I've picked everything up here. And let's move around a little bit. And y'all can see just how these cameras perform in varying lighting scenarios here. Now we're out in the big yard here today, and we're sitting under my favorite tree, and everything is nicely lit. So you can see, even in nicely lit situations, the camera still does have some exposure issues. Alright, and it's the same for the front-facing camera as it is with the rear-facing camera. So there's definitely some exposure issues with the cameras on the Huawei Y9 Prime 2019. Other than that, though, I feel these cameras are pretty good. Alright, so I hope you guys and gals enjoyed all of my coverage. If you did, you know what to do. I hope everyone has a great day, and I will catch you guys and gals in my next video. Peace, everyone. All right. Oops. We're out of here.